Let me begin my today's editorial with a biblical phrase taken from the book of John, chapter 8, verses 7. He that is without sin among you, let him cast a stone at her. Hello and welcome back to the latest or the episode number 2 of Open Editorial by Let Us Talk by George. Well, in today's video, we are going to discuss about the BBC documentary on Gujarat Right. Couple of days back, BBC did a documentary on the Gujarat Right, explaining the participation of Sri Narendra Modi in Gujarat Right, the Prime Minister of India. The BBC claims that all the mishaps that happened in the right was with the knowledge of Narendra Modi, then Chief Minister of Gujarat. Well, my question here is it even relevant to do a documentary now? After all, spending much time in the meeting rooms and sipping many cups of coffee and consuming a lot of biscuits. Well, the BBC could have done at least a better job by creating or by doing documentary which are relevant at the present condition. The Gujarat Right happened many years back, and of course, the entire nation, the entire India knows what exactly happened in Gujarat and who is behind the Gujarat Right. Now, after all these years, BBC comes back and say, "Ah, we did some research on something, we found some papers, and this is the information that we have found. Look, your Prime Minister and then government of Gujarat do know about the rights. Of course, we all know that. What is new in it?" So, to be honest with you, the documentary, right, releasing the documentary right now didn't make a sense to me. Now, let us think what might have forced BBC to do such a documentary. Is it the jealous neighbor who is jealous because India took the presidency of G20 summit? Is that the cause why BBC did such a documentary? I really don't understand why they came out with such a documentary at this moment when India took over the G20 presidency. Now, it is not the first time that BBC is actually framing India. The first one that happened in 1970 about by the Louis Malle documentary, and actually BBC was banned from broadcasting in India until 1972. So that was the first case which BBC did. And the second one was the case of fake child labor in Bangalore. And both these documentaries were actually BBC was trying to paint a negative image about India, that India is not doing any human rights thing, India is not working properly, or India is not actually. I mean, there is no legal restrictions in India. Anyone could do anything. I mean, see, they were actually trying to paint a negative image, basically. Now, my question is, if if BBC did a documentary on Gujarat, why can't they do similar documentaries about the atrocities and killings done by the British in India before the independence of India? They must do that. They must speak the truth. What exactly had happened? I would suggest them go through the historical documents, find as much information as possible, and do a documentary on it, and justify that. Okay, this is what we have done, and this is what we have found. And see, leave it. If they can do that, why don't they focus on the trending issues? We have many human rights abuses that happens across the world, and why don't they concentrate on the current challenges? So, see, spend the money, spend the time on something that is worth. Now, let me come back to the India's stand on the documentary. The government actually banned the documentary being broadcasted in India, but not only that, they didn't stop there. They had actually banned a social media account or removed posts from social media account which had discussions about the documentary. Now, I don't really understand why you are actually doing that. You are actually trying to make people shut up. See, if you want to have a good governance, of course, you must have these or you must be able to take these sort of criticisms. Otherwise, you can't say that you are actually doing a good governance. Of course, there should be somebody to highlight all the flaws that is actually happening with the government. So, I would say that it is an immature act, and I would say that see, our constitution itself actually gives us the right to the freedom of speech, so we can express whatever good is coming out from our mouth, despite the fact that it doesn't make any communal right or any other social issues. We can speak that. Now, that is actually, I feel like that is being actually prohibited here by silencing all the news, all the discussions about the BBC documentary regarding the Gujarat right. So, my question to you is I have two questions to you. What was the point of such a documentary? And second thing was, what government of India did was right or not? These are two of my questions. So I'm leaving these two questions to you, and I'm also suggesting BBC to do a better documentary on what exactly had happened before independence. And again, India government, I would say that this was an immature act. I would appreciate if you can actually rethink about what you have done. So these are my topics for today's editorial. Thank you for watching.